This episode of the Mad Rush podcast.
You never know who is watching, number one. You never know what opportunities are there, number two. And number three, if you don't build your network, other people that are building their network are just going to get the opportunities that you want. And so when I was at Warner Bros. And any internship you're at, friend request, connect with every single person that you have met there, whether they're fellow interns, whether it's your supervisor, whether it's like the supervisor. I mean, really get in there and connect with that.
Welcome to the Mad Rush podcast. I'm Trisha Addicks, the original Sorority Rush consultant. While the stories I have to share are nothing short of astonishing, this podcast goes beyond the wild client tales and sorority life. I'll be engaging with fascinating guests from both within and outside the Greek world, uncovering the surprising connections that bind us all together. Join me for a journey that's as entertaining as it is enlightening. Welcome to Mad Rush. Y'all, I am so excited. My book, The Rush Bible, is available for pre-order from Simon & Schuster. It's coming out next May, but you can order it now, and it's going to be great for anyone who's considering going through Sorority Rush. This is the book for you. You can order it today. The link is in the show notes, and it's also on my Instagram at Rush with Confidence. And I can't wait to get this great information on how to crush Sorority Rush out to all of you. Anyway, thank you for listening, and I appreciate you. Okay, today is the inaugural day of my podcast with wallpaper in my office. And if you're watching this on YouTube, you can see it. And the guy who did it, y'all, he came here this morning at 11:30. I'm recording this podcast with my amazing guests. I can't wait for you to hear at 4. So that was really impressive. And he did a fabulous job. I got the wallpaper from this place called Brookhaven Home. I swear I'm not trying to do a commercial, but they have the best home stuff. And his name is Rob Delbridge, if you're in the Atlanta area. And his wallpaper company is called Over Your Head. And he was very reasonable, quick, and did a great job. So it was kind of a commercial. But anyway, y'all, today I have a public speaker, creator, author, absolute rock star with me. And her name is Gigi Robinson. Gigi, thank you so much for being here. And I can't wait to get into it.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I love going on podcasts. I love having conversations with new people. So this is really awesome. Thanks for having me.
Oh, yeah. I'm the same way. I think about it. And then, when in the beginning I would be like, oh, what are we going to talk about? And it's so fun just to find out. So let's tell people who you are and what you do. And y'all, I saw her on Instagram. I stalked her. I was like, please be on my podcast because she has a lot going on. And she's in New Jersey. So wait, is it cold there today?
It's cold. Fun fact about me is that I'm a born and raised New Yorker. And so the fact that I live in New Jersey, and don't tell anyone if you're listening to this, I love New Jersey. Yeah, I don't know why. I cannot understand why New Yorkers hate on New Jersey other than the fact that it's just some weird rivalry. I love it here. I love the nature. I love living in the suburbs, having lived in New York City my whole life on the Upper East Side and then in Riverdale, having gone to New York City public schools my entire upbringing, and then heading out to Los Angeles to go to USC, living in Los Angeles. I mean, I love the suburbs. My nervous system loves the suburbs. My dogs love the suburbs. It's just a little cold, but I'm going to Delray Beach next week. So
wait, so you went to USC?
Yeah, right on.
Well, so that rush is going on right now.
Yes.
Sorority Rush. And so you were a tried out at USC?
Yes.
Oh, it's all clicking for me now. Y'all, we could just talk for hours. I'm not going to make her talk for hours, but
once we get there, yeah. I was just going to say it's interesting when we get there, but I was a transfer student and I rushed my junior year semester. I didn't rush as a sophomore. So I definitely have this unique experience that maybe will help other people feel less alone if they're rushing later or if they've transferred. And then also just like my super unfiltered experience having rushed and having gone through different cycles of friends and all of that. So we'll get into it.
Okay, yeah, I'm excited about that. I didn't have it. I just was thinking that your book is amazing, and I wanted to have you on my podcast. I had no idea we were going to get Rush Gold too. That's awesome. You know, the title of my podcast is Mad Rush, but it's not usually or during, except for during rush season. It's usually just about interesting and cool people. So talk to me. Yeah, let's go back. Let's go back and then we'll get to there. So you grew up in New York, and then what?
So I was born and raised in New York City, went to public schools my entire life here. My mom's a nurse. My dad works in like home renovations. And as a young kid, I think at one point I realized I just had a competitive edge to me. I always wanted to compete, whether that was like, it was always against myself. Like it wasn't competing against others to make myself feel better. It was just trying to outperform what I did last because I thought it was fun. The thrill of competing is always a little bit fun, at least in my opinion. Maybe I just have a wild sense of mindset.
No, I think there are a lot of people out there who love the thrill of competing for sure.
So I did a lot of competitive swimming growing up. And
another connection. I was a competitive swimmer as well.
And when I was about 11 years old, I started experiencing a lot of chronic pain and injuries in my body. And the doctors at the time, and thank God my mom's a nurse and that I lived in New York City, but I got diagnosed with a chronic illness called Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, which is a connective tissue disorder. So the way that I describe it, that makes the most sense in just plain talk to people is imagine you have a hair tie that's lost its elasticity or sweatpants that lost their elasticity. That's how the ligaments in my body work. And so you can imagine that means that your joints can become more unstable. You're more prone to injuries. And my doctors basically said, girl, you got to find a new hobby. You can't be doing competitive swimming. It's too rigorous on your shoulders and the diving and even like kicking off doing like when you're doing this, the turn to do the next lap.
Flip turn. Yeah. Flip turn. Yeah.
The flip turn. Okay. That's what I was going to say. I forgot the word and I didn't want to be wrong. Okay. Good. I'm glad that my intuition was.
Well, I'm never wrong. That is in my book. And it's also.
Are women ever wrong?
Well, no, I don't think so. And I definitely am not. But so continue.
And so I ended up picking up my dad's Nikon D70 camera, which I think was like, a 6 megapixel camera at the time versus now they're up in the like 30s.
I know. It's crazy. I used to do photography and mine was, I think mine was 10.
Yeah.
I was like,
I did that in middle school. And I also dabbled with other forms of art, which led me to apply with a portfolio of work to LaGuardia High School of Performing Arts, very famous high school here in New York City. And I got in for fine art. I did that entire thing there. And I just really fell in love with photography. And I couldn't compete physically, but I was like, let me submit my art to competition. So I ended up winning local, regional, national, and international spots in galleries and photo competitions. Wow. And that's what I used to apply to college. I did actually go to FIT for a year before transferring to USC. And I ended up getting a bachelor's of fine arts out at USC. And that was where I started my social media career. So I really owe it to that. But I could go all different ways here with career, lifestyle, living with a chronic illness. So you tell me which way.
Well, let's start. Let's talk about your book because I'm in my book era right now.
Cool.
And I have a book coming out in May. And if you're listening to this and you don't know that, then that's really impressive because I will tell anybody about it. But I'm in my book era. So I want to hear about your book.
I wrote a children's book. You can see it here behind me, a kid's book about chronic illness. And this book was written in early 2023 or late 2022. And the interesting thing about it is that I wrote it before I got the pathology results back from my endometriosis surgery. So I didn't even know that I had endometriosis when I wrote it, which is why I don't include it in this book. And I place a large emphasis on the Ehlers-Danlos syndrome and the chronic pain, the fatigue that you may experience with this disease. That said, the book is not about a sob story, is first and foremost a kid's book, which means that is written in the most simplistic, easy to digest way to understand what it's like living with a chronic illness. And so I really wanted to focus a lot on mindset, because living with a chronic illness is not just managing your symptoms, it's managing your lifestyle, your relationships, and your mindset. Because if you have something that you're diagnosed with and all of a sudden that diagnosis becomes a pain point for you emotionally, it's going to become a pain point that touches every other part of your life. And
Right.
so this book, on the back of the book, it really has a couple words. It says illness, it says resilience, courage, and bodies. And that's the easiest way to kind of break it down. Another cool piece about the book is that I wrote it with this company, a Kids Co., which did get acquired by Penguin Random House. So I basically became a Penguin Random House author overnight, which is rare. That can happen, but it does happen. And another thing, I don't know if we're going to talk about manifestation or vision boards, but I sought out to write a book. And in late 2024, I was like, I'm going to get a big publishing deal or something's going to happen within the publishing world. And then this happened by mid-January last year around this time. So I just was like, oh my God, this is amazing. But
it's a sign.
the good news about all this is that I am now working on my adult nonfiction book as well, which will essentially be a kid's book about chronic illness for adults. It'll be a lot more expanded. It'll have a lot more mindset, real life tactical applications, as well as science that backs living with a chronic illness, not just from medical professionals, but from like holistic providers as well, mental health professionals, studies and teachers and PhDs and all of that jazz. So I'm working on that now. So in a year from now or 2 years from now, I'll come back and we'll both have our books done.
Yes. Well, I really, really believe that people, and I believe in manifestation. I believe in signs. I believe in all that stuff. There's a reason you're on this podcast. And, I think that everything you said about manifesting, we don't have to talk about it, but I think it's a really important thing in my life. Same thing with me. I was like, all right, I'm going to write a book. And I think that's really, it's something that if you want to do anything, that manifesting it first, vision board. I've never done a vision board, but I think that is really important.
Yeah, I also think manifesting is really just setting a goal and taking the actions to make it happen. So a lot of people might put a book proposal on their vision board or a big publishing house on their vision board, but they may never write the proposal or they may never do the competitive analysis to see what exists in the market. If you don't take the action to actually make it work, and that's something that I learned very specifically from Tony Robbins and all of his programs, if you've done them or if you've heard of them. I'm a big fan, and I really love the framework that strategy is easy. Once you come up on why you need to do something, that's the turning point where you got to build the strategy, and hundreds, if not thousands, if not millions of people have probably done what you're trying to do. So I think understanding why you want to do something before building a strategy is actually the key to manifesting in real time and staying consistent with it. Because if you're not consistent with it, it's just not going to happen. If you want your dream body, it's not going to happen just by putting it on your vision board. You have to take the action to make that happen.
Yes. And that is so true with everything, and being intentional and following through. And it's all important. And that is what we work on with our clients. If you want to be in a sorority, or if you want to find your people, you have to follow through with the work it takes to get there. And so I think that's a really important thing. And yeah, Penguin Random House was one of the houses that bid on my book, and I love the people at Penguin Random House. I didn't end up going with them, but they're a class act, and they're great. So, okay. So you grew up in New York. How when did you write? You said you wrote the book in 22, 23?
Yeah, I was 24 when I wrote it, and I'm 27 and a half now.
When's your birthday?
It's May 10th.
Gotcha. My book comes out May 12th. So
Cool.
It'll be a birthday present for you. Okay. So you're the same age you're 2 months older than my oldest son.
Oh,
So that's also super cool. So you went to college then, I guess, in 2017?
2016 to 2020, which lucky me, I was a COVID grad.
I was going to say, so was he. Yeah.
Had COVID not happened, I don't know what I would have been doing. I'm sure I would have worked in social media or digital marketing in some way because my internships were at the big studios, Warner Brothers, Paramount, and a couple agencies. And those were the internships I had winter 2019, spring 2020, and then summer 2020 lined up at Warner Bros. And Paramount. So when I think the middle of March came around in 2020, Warner Bros. Was like, okay, bye-bye. Paramount was like, we could do a virtual thing where you kind of do mock assignments, but there's nothing actual real that you can do because it's proprietary information and you're in New York and we're in Los Angeles. And I was like, okay. But I did it anyway. And something I didn't really go super deep into was my experience starting with posting on social media in college. So when I got to USC after I transferred in 2017, I went to a career fair.
Where'd you go first?
I was at FIT here in New York.
Yeah, you said that. And then you transferred.
Yeah, I just felt like FIT was a extension of LaGuardia High School. I did not want to do it. Too much of the same stuff is what I'm saying. And I just was bothered and like in and out. And I just didn't feel academically stimulated. Like it was New York City. I know New York City like the back of my hand. And people are like oohing and ahhing at the Empire State Building, which granted, when you got to be a tourist and go there, it's actually really fun. So I'm not going to poo-poo that too much. But I felt like everyone around me was like, oh my God, New York City. And I was just like, yeah, this is my backyard.
Right. Wait, I have a question though.
Yeah.
When you decided to go, and I don't know anything about your chronic illness, but I do know people who've moved to California because of chronic illnesses, because of the weather. Does that affect you in any way?
Yeah. So my top choice for college in undergrad was actually UMiami. And I got in and I was going to go, but the cookie didn't crumble that way for me, just with the financial aid package and all of that. And
Right.
So I ended up choosing to transfer later on and go to a school that was local, a state school that I could afford very easily, and then just transfer to finish out the degree. So that was what informed the decision. But UMiami was my top decision for the weather reason,
Right.
Which I know if you're outside more, usually that allows you to live a certain lifestyle, which also can help enforce different habits, and that can help you maintain a chronic illness. Now, I'm not saying that if you live in a warm climate that you're going to be cured, but I know that living in a warm climate can have really positive impacts on mental health.
Right.
So when I was going to transfer, I also applied to UMiami again. I applied to USC. I think I don't really remember all the schools I applied to, but obviously if you put the 2 and 2 together, which would you choose? I have spent my whole life also going down to Delray Beach and hanging out down there. So Miami felt a little bit safe to me and a little too much partying and not enough like, oh my God, like if you think of LA, you think of the entertainment industry, photography, glitz, glam, like it seemed like more of a playground creatively than Miami would be for me, because really I just knew Miami as like a snowbird kind of situation.
Right.
Even though, or like I think of real estate first if I'm thinking of. So
Y'all, she's 27, just FYI. She's got it going on.
I'm a worldly girl.
Yes, you are.
If you call being worldly, being a native New Yorker who spent a lot of time in South Florida and Los Angeles, yeah, very worldly.
Well, so wait, so you went to California as a sophomore?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we got to talk about this. So now let's get into so were you an influencer in college?
Yeah, so that's what I was about to say. When I transferred, I went to a career fair, and at that career fair was this booth for this club called Reach. And I'm like, what is this? Like, it's about social media. And at the time, I'd already been posting all my photography on my social media accounts that I mentioned, like that won me awards, that has been featured in the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York City in special exhibits.
Wow.
There were temporary exhibits, but nonetheless.
Well, still you're in the moment. That's amazing. Yeah.
I applied to this club and it became the most enriching and exciting group of people that I was around in college, because all of them were essentially creators, entrepreneurs, working in social media, digital strategists in some kind of way. And to this day, there's like, 5 or 6 that were in my class that were on Forbes 30 under 30 and that have started companies or have won awards or have millions and millions of followers. I mean, really, really successful, smart people out of this specific group, since it's kind of been taken over and changed into something different, which is totally awesome in its own right. But joining that club was my entry point into social media at scale. And so when I was there, I started looking around for different part-time roles, different brand ambassador roles. And 2017, 2018, what a brand ambassador role on campus was probably, it was different than it might be now. The word brand ambassador might mean something different now. What it was back then was essentially field marketing, guerrilla marketing, and straight up just social media marketing. So I would post in the Facebook groups. I would go around with products from the different brands to each of the sororities and fraternities, drop stuff off for tailgates, host tailgates on behalf of brands, and post on my pages about it. And at the end of my career in undergrad, I'd done over 13 brand ambassador programs for Abercrombie, TikTok, Tinder, Timberland, Smashbox Cosmetics, and a bunch more. And
this was early too.
This was early. This was 2017, 2018, 2019. And I just had the best time with it because I got a taste of like, I don't really need to work that hard to make money. So obviously as a college student, I'm like, I'll post for free. Give me free skincare. Heck yeah, I'll post about it. Give me free food. I'll post about it. So I was doing that while also doing internships. So I worked for the university doing hospitality imagery of the USC Hotel right on Figueroa. It used to be the Radisson. They took it over, doing all of the food and beverage photography that was commercialized, put on billboards and banners across campus. The football and athletic stuff was never really appealing to me, so I never did that. I had a small stint at the Daily Trojan as a staff photographer, but did not enjoy that, so I quit. And then what else? I mean, that was really my entry point. And then I had all these different internships after that at the Aerospace Corporation doing commercial photography, headshots, photo products, photography, product shots of the innovation coming out of there, as well as headshots for executives there. And then I ended up landing my Warner and Paramount internships. And that brings me to COVID.
So what was your internship for those? I mean, what were you going to do? What was your major?
I was a bachelor's of fine arts in fine art, photography, storytelling, design.
Gotcha.
Essentially, I could morph the degree into what I wanted it to be. And so at the Aerospace Corporation, I was a photography intern. At USC Hospitality, I was a photo intern. At Warner Bros., I was a digital marketing intern. And because it was late 2019 into early 2020, this was like, how do we create a branded TikTok account for a movie? And It was so fun because I already worked for TikTok as a brand ambassador. So any questions I had about media and entertainment, I could get an answer from someone at an @tiktok.com domain without getting into the business side of it. So I could come from like this curious student perspective. I loved working on it. And actually at my time at Warner Bros., I connected with an offline agency that was working or contracted on a movie for Warner. And I connected with them. COVID happens. Warner's like, sorry, we're done with you. And I decided to go onto LinkedIn. And actually, I would love to talk a little bit about LinkedIn here because it's really valuable to everybody, but especially to any student that is looking to do anything with their career. Like, please.
I would like to hear about it because I do not do LinkedIn and I think I should. I mean, I do it, but I don't even know how to do it. But so yeah, talk a little bit about LinkedIn.
So this is back in 2020, and I'll just share this anecdote, but you never know who is watching, number one. You never know what opportunities are there, number two. And number three, if you don't build your network, other people that are building their network are just going to get the opportunities that you want. And so when I was at Warner Bros. And any internship you're at, friend request, connect with every single person that you have met there, whether they're fellow interns, whether it's your supervisor, whether it's like the supervisor. I mean, really get in there and connect with that.
Y'all, she used the buzzword connections. It's all about connections. My husband wants me to change the name of this podcast to Mad Connections because that's what I talk about all the time. So continue.
And connections are really important. That said, connections are not there to necessarily benefit you. It's a symbiotic relationship that you have to nurture. And so if you're going into it just expecting, a lot of stuff from another person, not having nurtured that, it's not going to work. It's going to come off as transactional. But if you're an intern, if you're in college, especially, or if you're a new grad, reaching out to those fellow peers should be pretty much normal. It shouldn't be a weird thing to do because they're probably doing the same thing. But when you're able to then go and message your supervisor or your supervisor's supervisor and say, hey, I'm the photography intern here at blah, blah company. I really enjoyed working here for the summer. I'm just working on building my network. Are you open to connecting? Send that over. Nobody's going to say no to a college student. That was the number one piece of advice I took from a professor actually at FIT when I was there. And he said that. And I was like, that's really smart. So I started building my LinkedIn network back in 2016 when I was a freshman in college.
I wish I'd talked to you then.
I mean, hey, it's never too late to start. There's actually, I think, less than 1% of LinkedIn users, and I think there's over like 1 billion users on LinkedIn, actually create content on LinkedIn. So it's still early days there to really stand out in your field. And what I did with that Warner Bros. Internship was send a message over to the agency team that I worked with early on in the internship when I first met them. COVID happens, Warner ends the internship. I go on LinkedIn and see this agency is hosting a live about TikTok 101. So I said, you know what, let me attend. Then they hosted a TikTok 102. I was like, I'll go to it. And what did I get in my inbox? Hi, Gigi, thank you for attending our webinars. We noticed that you were working on the Warner team. Are you interested in working for us for a bit? I was like, yeah.
Yes, I am. Thank you.
I'm about to graduate during COVID and you're offering me a job? Yeah. So I ended up saying yes, working with them. And then I also part-time at night did do the Paramount internship remotely. And that was a photography editorial internship, which really would have been amazing in person, but whatever. So that was my internship story.
So well, and that's really cool. And what I want to go back to, okay, so you did something that I think everybody should do. And you started at USC and you found a place. I'm assuming you didn't have to try out to be in Reach.
No, you did. It was a
did you?
big application process. Like they only accept 4% of people.
Oh, wow. Okay.
We got hundreds of applications. And then having served on the e-board of that, we would get like 200 applications, manually review each one, have second round interviews with people.
Oh, wow. Okay. Wow. Yeah, that's cool.
It was a very serious process. We took it very seriously, potentially too seriously.
Well, so what I was going to say, which I was wrong, oh my God, that's the first time I've been wrong. Wait, what's happening?
You're not wrong. You just didn't know the information.
Okay. That's right. Okay. Yeah. So you went and joined something that was your interest and you found some really amazing, smart, obviously dynamic people. So then what made you, let's talk about your rush story now, because I didn't know even when I asked you to be on this podcast that you did that or that you were in a sorority. But so what was your decision to rush later and why did you do that? It sounds like you had this great group already.
I think if you're going to try something, college is the best time to try. And so I figured I'm at the University of Southern California. Like they are known for their Greek life, amongst other things, in their research and their amazing, prestigious schools within the school. But I just figured I'm only young months, like truly YOLO. And
Love it.
and that if I didn't do it then, I wasn't going to do it. And so I kind of got together with some of my friends at the time and was like, I want to try this out. Now, it's really hard going into it because you have a certain mindset around like your expectation. And truly, I think you're not supposed to expect anything. And I actually think potentially I would have enjoyed it more had I joined a different group that ranked me higher. Like I ranked Tri Delta higher than they ranked me, but we still matched. I think had I gone with the one that was below Tri Delta and matched with them, I think I actually would have been happier based on knowing certain people after the fact, like having graduated, seeing where people are.
So wait, this is a really important point for listeners. So explain like in real terms what you're saying.
Okay. In real terms, what I'm saying is Rush, at least at USC, is I think a 5-day process or like a week-long process.
You're in it right now. It started the 6th, midday's the 11th. So yeah.
And so what happens is you go in and you essentially like tour the houses and you're talking with the girls in the different houses. And then based on who you talk to, they kind of rank you.
Right.
That said, if I go back to 2018 when I did it, social media was still a thing. LinkedIn was still a thing. And I'm sure that girls were looking at that. I'm sure it's even more magnified now.
It is.
So I don't know what social followings or, clout online has to do with that, because in some ways everybody is a little bit of an influencer these days and has hundreds or thousands of followers these days. I would say that's probably the least of your concerns. But I started to notice, like, as I was going around interviewing with certain people on that first day, somehow I got matched to people whose last names are like well known. By well known, I mean you shop at the department store and their last name is the last name, or you have a computer with that person's last name. I mean, I was talking to people that I was almost floored. Like I was like, okay. Another thing that was interesting going to the houses, and I'm not here to like badmouth in any way. I know people at all of these places in real life also that were great outside the sorority, but maybe when they got in their clique, they got a little bit sassy or like a little bit of attitude. I really didn't like that. And so for me, actually, the top houses that I wanted to be in, that everybody wants to be in, I didn't even want to be near those people. I just liked the idea of the exclusivity. And that's essentially FOMO. That's what the Rush process, I think, is kind of designed to do. There's a piece of it that's about finding your people. In plain talk, at a school like USC, the top houses, what I'm about to say may be a little bit spicy. It may be true. It may not be true. But the top houses at USC do directly relate to your family and the amount of money that you may make. So a question that I was asked at one of these top houses was, where does your family vacation to? Another question that I was asked was, what are your parents do? And when I said nurse, somebody said, oh, well, my dad's a surgeon. And it's like, well, that doesn't make me feel good. And she almost looked down on me. At least that's how it felt. Right. And so I just remembered, I was like, I don't even want to be here. Like, get me out of here. Versus the conversations I had at other houses that I liked a little more were more down to earth. They cared more about like, oh, like I cared about philanthropy. So I was like, where do you guys volunteer? Like, what do you do? Like, do you have outings? What do the girls do? Like, what are hobbies? Like, what are the like movie nights look like or whatever? Right. And that was more important to me. So as I was asking the questions.
Well, and I'm going to interrupt you. I think it's more important to everyone. So I'm not saying, what I'm saying is if you are, and this is also in my book, but if you are going for something because it's a perceived top house and it's not a good fit for you, you're going to spend, well, not in your case because you went through later, but you're going to spend 4 years trying to measure up to something that is not a good way to live. It is not fun. It's not finding your people. It's if you go in thinking I have to be in the same sorority that so-and-so's, the computer person's daughter is in because it's a top house. And if that's your goal, you're in for a world of hurt. And I'm not saying that you can't get into one because you clearly did. But what I'm saying is if that is not where your people are, it's a ridiculously horrible way to spend your time because you're not finding the people that are your people. And so that's what we don't even take clients that say, I want to be in one of these 4 sororities because, or whatever, at any school, because and you're living proof of it.
Yeah. And I do think that like at the time, Tri Delta was technically like ranked 6, it was like Kappa, Theta, DG, Pi Phi, A Phi. The fact that I remember this is worse, just to let you know about how it is. Then it was Tri Delta, AE Phi, G Phi, Beta, and then one other one that I don't really remember the name of that I think
there aren't that many there.
Yeah, it got like kicked off or shut down because not enough people came. So that was sad. But anyway, so at the time, like Tri Delta was like technically 6th on the list. And like, I didn't care about that. I just like wanted some more people, some nice friends. And to be honest, I was being a little bit entrepreneurial where I was like, I know the people that I'll meet in the Greek life arena could lead me to another opportunity, not necessarily
which is that's facts right there.
It is facts. Yeah. Like the people that your network is your net worth. Like that is a group that should support you and help you grow over time. And did I fully experience that? I don't know. Like I had some crazy friendship things happen that we're no longer friends. I had, just some experiences also where I didn't always feel accepted or at place in the sorority. There were a couple of nice people here and there, but everybody else was like doing their own thing. And I think that maybe that was just in my head the whole time. Like what I just said, everybody in the sorority is doing their own thing. That is also really important to remember. Like, yes, these people are your sisters. They're supposed to be there for you and they're supposed to be a great group of friends. The reality is you may find a handful, if not only 1 or 2 key people that you really jive with, and the rest probably you'll never really talk to again.
Yeah, it's a good point too. And you also said earlier the word expectations.
Yeah.
So, one, disappointment comes from expectations. And another thing, one and then one. So that makes no sense. 1 and then 2, eyes wide open. It's you gotta go into this knowing that having an open mind and all the things that we don't need to get into all that. We're not giving rush advice here, but it's a very good point. You're making a very good point and a point that I make all the time.
And fun story for you.
I love a fun story. She's coming back, y'all. I think we're going to have the Gigi Robinson collab podcast.
Yeah, we could do that.
I love it.
Be your friendly big sis with some no BS mindset advice. That is me through and through.
Right.
One of my friends that I'm still friends with to this day, that was actually one of the nicer girls in the sorority. Like, just to paint a picture, in Tri Delta, they had these grand tables. Like, they took up the entire dining room when they were lined up, especially for like Monday night dinners and stuff. And there were times where I was sitting there, or I would sit at the end of the table, and like the people sitting nearby would literally like get up and leave, like in Mean Girls.
That's like, I was about to say, that's exactly like Mean Girls. Wow.
It was kind of not nice. And
kind of.
This one girl noticed that I was always eating alone and decided to kind of sit next to me. And COVID happened. We both came back to New York. We became friends, really started hanging out a lot, became like really, really close. And at the end of 2022, she starts dating this guy. And I had just had my endometriosis surgery. She invites me to her New Year's Eve event. I go to the New Year's Eve event, and the guy that she's with, by the way, she told me it was going to be vision boarding, skincare, and in bed by 10 o'clock for New Year's Eve. And she invites the guy with his friend. And his friend has been my boyfriend now of for years. And we have our 2 dogs and our home together. So,
Oh, wow.
it's a sweet story.
That is a sweet story.
You never know who you're going to meet. And
I was waiting for you to be like mad at her because it was supposed to be Vision Board Skincare in bed by 10. And instead you met the love of your life. So
yeah, exactly. But
all right, we have to give a shout out to your dogs before we end it. And then I'm going to ask you, I'm going to put you on the spot and you don't have to answer, but I used to, anyway, tell me about your dogs.
Zeke and Trixie are Havanese petfluencers, if you will. They have an Instagram account of their own, Zeke and Trixie. They have TikTok, they have YouTube. Together, they have about 15,000 followers, which is really crazy. They're booking for brand deals. So brands, you hear this, let's get them to work. They got to pay their rent. And yeah, they're just little joy machines. They're actually both in here taking naps. Kind of surprisingly, they have been quiet as a mouse, which has been amazing.
Joy machine. I love that.
I can't take credit for that one. A friend of mine basically said that one time. And I was like, you know what? You are so not wrong about that. But yeah, Zeke and Trixie, I mean, they're just, I'm trying to find a cute pic of them. They're adorable.
I'm sure you have plenty. We'll just follow Zeke and Trixie. How about that?
Yeah. Here's Mr. Zeke.
Do you think Zeke and Trixie should follow at Rush with Confidence? Because
they could.
That's important for me to have dog followers.
I think Zeke and Trixie are destined to be movie stars in another life. And they just got stuck with me, an influencer dog momager.
Okay, so real quick before we go, what is your biggest piece of advice? And I think I already know it because I think you've said it. But for someone who wants to be an influencer or who's headed to college, it doesn't have to be about that. But just, do you have one piece of advice that you would share? And if you don't, it's okay. But I kind of already know it. I think I can answer it for you. Go ahead.
So I don't want to be like, oh my God, I have the answer to this. But I really do think, as somebody who loves personal development, I've always loved motivational speakers and mindset coaches. It would be to figure out who you are and what you stand for. The rest will fall into place. And so
it's also in my book. Ooh.
I think just to mention something about Rush is that I know you've heard it a million times, but just be your freaking self.
Yes.
No answer of somebody in a top house, this is a real story, asking me where I go on vacation in the summer. And my answer is, oh, well, I just recently went camping for 15 days with my brother and our friends, and we shared one car, is going to make somebody who goes to Ibiza for spring break like me more. There's no amount of that. I'm not saying that person might not camp. That person probably going glamping or staying in a 5-star hotel where I'm camping on the ground in the dirt. So do I want to be around somebody who's not going to enjoy the things that I join? No. And that's also why I ended up joining the USC Outdoors Club as well. So I had a group of people with that because I wasn't fulfilled in the sorority life with that.
Wait, okay. So this is where I was not wrong earlier, but where I asked, did you have to apply? Did you have to do an application for the outdoor club? Did they have to accept you for that too?
Yeah. So most clubs,
forget it.
Most clubs at USC are application based. Some are easy to get into. Easy. When I applied to be on the environmental board at USC in the first year living in the dorm. I applied to the environmental club or the outdoors club. I applied to the photo club, and the photo club was a Google form, and they're like, yeah, you're in. The environmental one was more selective because the amount of students that could go on the trips out to the desert or the forest, were limited. So, every school is going to be different.
Right. Well, my point was that I was trying to make that. So we're going to use this for the one club that they said, yeah, you're in, is to get involved in things where your acceptance is automatic. So that if you have something where your sorority isn't working out for you or and the rush process is obviously the opposite of that. So that's good advice. But yes, know yourself. Say it again for the people in the cheap seats.
People in the cheap seat. Figure out who you are and align yourself with people, places, and things that resonate with that true version.
Yay! We have to end on that. That's perfect. That's the best advice from a 27-and-a-half-year-old person. That's really amazing. And yes, you're coming back.
Yeah.
Because I could talk to you for forever. All right. Where can people find you on all the things?
Yeah. So my Instagram handle is It's Gigi Robinson. It's actually right behind me if you're watching the video version of this. The @ symbol, the word It's Gigi Robinson. You can Google my name, Gigi Robinson. You could Google Host of Influence. That's my company. Connect with me on LinkedIn, Gigi Robinson. Buy my book, a kid's book about chronic illness. Really, I'm pretty accessible online.
Yeah, clearly.
Yeah, whenever people say this, I'm like, just Google me. It's easier and sounds a little bit more humble than me listing off my 1,000,000 platforms.
Yeah, no, that's good. Well, and I made a note to I'm going to work on my LinkedIn.
Oh yeah, I think
inspired.
You could crush LinkedIn.
Well, I think that I need to figure out how to crush LinkedIn first, but I want to crush LinkedIn, I guess. Anyway, thank you for being here. You are amazing, and that. Just like I said, you're coming back.
Okay, let's do it.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Mad Rush Podcast. If you are enjoying this podcast, please consider leaving us a 5-star review. For additional Rush tips, updates, and more, please follow me on Instagram at Rush with Confidence. If you would like to reach out to us or for more information, please email info@madrushpod.com. This podcast is produced by Collier Landry and Don't Touch My Radio. Copyright Trisha Addicks.